Alright, so Battle of BC6 has officially wrapped up, and this is one of the bigger events of this year that was kind of hyped up. It was a little bit more stacked last year, if I remember correctly. We had some flight issues and all kinds of crazy stuff happening this year that caused a lot of players to miss out, like Sonics and other players. But overall, this was still a great event to watch online. Obviously, I wasn't there myself, so I can't tell you how it was in person, but watching, online, watching the sets I've watched, it was a really good event. I'm a real big fan of the Battle of BC tournaments and tournaments like GOML. I feel like all these events that happen in Canada, we see a lot of international talent facing that we usually never see before. I feel like there's a lot of matchups that we typically don't get to see, like with Europe versus Japan. A lot of times they don't really travel to Japan from Europe and vice versa. It kind of just happens at events like this in Canada. And we got to see a ton of matchups that we've really never seen before. It is unfortunate that a lot of the top players that were going to attend this event ended up not attending it for whatever reason, flight issues like I said, or some of them just opted out from going. But if anything, I feel like this led to kind of a more hyped top 8. We got to see a lot of players that we typically don't see, at least outside of Japan we don't see. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you look at top 8. We have 3 out of the 4 players in winner's side, all from Japan. And then you also had Toriguri in the loser's bracket, so a total of 4 players in top 8 from Japan. And then 2 from Canada, 1 from Mexico obviously, and just 1 US player in Bassmage. And despite this tournament not being super stacked, we definitely did have some upsets and some players that, found themselves out pretty early, I would say. Of course, one of them being like MKLeo, Syrup didn't make top 8 as well. We had Big D not making top 8. There's a lot of good players that didn't make top 8. But I want to focus the discussion of this video on one specific player, and that player, of course, is Toriguri, the best Banjo player in the world, and I believe this was his first appearance outside of Japan at a large international tournament. Now, this is a player that might have caught a lot of people off by surprise. Me, I'm not surprised whatsoever because I'm a big fan of Banjo. Is one of my 3 main characters that I play. He's kind of like my I guess secondary kind of character. I don't play him that much, but I'm a big fan of Banjo. So I'm pretty familiar with his game. I've done a couple recaps from some tournaments in Japan where he's done really well, because he's really done well over there, and he's really made this character kind of thrive over there. And the crazy thing is that he really proved it at this tournament here. Basically any player that was not from Japan, he kind of just dominated. He basically started the tournament off, sweeping his way through pools, 3-0, 3-0, easily making it to phase 2. And it didn't really stop there. He won his next set against Spam Cop 3-0, then he played against a Joker player, he won 3-1, and then he played against another Joker player, oh yeah, his name is MKLeo, and he just dominated him 3-0. And the thing about Banjo, a lot of people have kind of talked about this character, right? I feel like a lot of people on the surface level look at Banjo and say, yeah, he's like a bottom 5, maybe bottom 10 character in the game. He's just not good at all. And this is kind of true. Banjo is not the best character. He's got a lot of bad things about him. He has certain matchups that he kind of just auto loses. They're really hard for him to win. But the thing about Banjo is he does have a lot of really cool tech and very specific, character tech, stuff that's really hard to pull off. But if you really put in the time and kind of master him and find a way to implement that into your just regular, gameplay, that's when we get to see people like Toriguri who fully master this character, really kind of show off what this character can do. I'm not saying that Banjo's top tier, by any means. I'm definitely not saying that. But I think he's kind of shown us that with the amount of skill that he has and the time he's put into this character, he can at the very least make Banjo look kind of like a mid-tier character. I mean, just watching his set against MKLeo, just his movement was crazy. All the Brigo Blaster canceling and like some of that stuff that he's doing is very hard to pull off, and he's just doing it like it's nothing. And it was very clear that MKLeo was not prepared for this matchup. Like nobody plays Banjo at this level besides Toriguri, nobody. So I'm really not too surprised that MKLeo lost. I mean, obviously people are clowning on him because people just love to do that whenever MKLeo loses to an unheard of character or unheard of player. But again, this is the best player of that character in the world, and this is a character that I'm sure he doesn't have a whole lot of practice against, so it really doesn't surprise me. And then of course, after beating MKLeo, Toriguri had to face Hurt, the Japanese snake player, and also the character that people say Banjo is a worse version of. People like to call Banjo Bad Snake, right? Because they both have grenades, they both kind of do the same thing, except Snake is 1,000 times better. But that being said, I mean, Toriguri kept it close, and he took it to game 5. It was very close. He almost pulled this off, and I really kind of wonder how things would have went had he have won this set. This was honestly the first set that Toriguri had in this entire tournament where somebody was kind of had him against the ropes, right? Somebody that could actually kind of beat him. And again, this is another player from Japan that I'm sure has that matchup experience. But up to this point, it was very clear that anybody outside of Japan that had to go against Toriguri just did not have that experience at all. And so of course, part of it could be that this character is just underexplored and, nobody's really found that tech with Banjo, and then also part of it could be just the fact that a lot of people don't really have that matchup experience. So it'll be really interesting to see, like, moving forward, if players can adapt or if they prepare for this matchup, or what they kind of do to, you know, not get 3-0'd. So it's unfortunate to me that he lost to Hurt, but, you know, it is what it is. He kept it close, and, you know, very respectable Game 5 set. And he was still in the tournament, of course. He went to losers, where he had to face Big D to qualify for top 8. Now, if you guys don't know, Ice Climbers also have, like, a lot of really bad matchups. Banjo is definitely one of them. I think Banjo is one of Ice Climbers' worst matchups, if I had to say. I honestly feel like Wonder Wing kind of just destroys the character. Also, just the eggs, grenades, you're constantly just kind of breaking apart the climbers, and it's really kind of hard to deal with a lot of what Banjo has. So again, this is like one of those matchups where, like, I feel like kind of impossible for Big D to win, you know, and it's really unfortunate for Big D because in winners he lost to Spargo, which is, you know, Cloud is another really bad matchup for Ice Climbers, so he kind of just had it tough. Like, he had really tough matchups when it counted the most. But, you know, Toriguri took full advantage, you know, quick 3-0, and he qualified for top 8. And, of course, the other thing to note is that Toriguri was seeded 12th at this event, so he definitely outplaced his seed, you know, quite a bit. Obviously, some of those players that were up there, you know, I think Sonics was the #1 seed, and they didn't reseed or whatever. So, obviously, some of the stuff changed, but still, he was seeded, like, not to make top 8, and he definitely made top 8. And in top 8, he ended up facing against Bassmage, who was, you know, it's kind of back and forth. He ended up winning the set 3-1, but there was definitely some stocks where Bassmage, you know, was able to kind of catch Toriguri off stage and get the early stocks, or just kind of catch him in awkward positions. But Toriguri bounced back, and, like, honestly, Wonder Wing just came in clutch. Like, he was just getting super early kills, and it was just kind of hard for Puff to deal with. This might be the first time we've ever seen this matchup in top 8 of any relevant tournament ever, so that's kind of cool too. I don't think Japan really has, like, any notable Jigglypuff players. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, I mean, we definitely don't really have a whole lot of notable Banjo players in the US, so yeah, this might be the first time we've seen this. And then moving on in losers quarterfinals, Toriguri had to go up against Yoshidora, another close Game 5 set against another Japanese opponent. And again, I'm sure these two have played against each other a bunch of times, you know, whether it be friendlies, tournaments, or whatever. I'm sure that they know each other's gameplay, and I do believe that at the pre-local, I know they were saying on stream that Yoshidora ended up actually beating Toriguri, so going into this, you know, kind of the underdog, he still kept it close, and he almost pulled it off in Game 5. But in the end, Toriguri would end up placing 5th place, getting double eliminated by Japan. And again, to me, this was very impressive. You know, this is a character that nobody expects anything out of, and I think going into this tournament, obviously Toriguri was kind of advertised a little bit. You know, this is his first tournament outside of Japan. I'm pretty sure that it is. I could be wrong about that, but I'm almost positive I've seen that, and I don't remember seeing him anywhere in the US at a tournament, so or Canada for that matter. So I'm pretty sure this is his first, like, big international event, and I feel like it's kind of one of those, you know, if you know types of things, right? Like, if you kind of knew about Toriguri coming into this, you know, you're not really surprised by it, but there's a lot of people that didn't know about him because it's Banjo, right? Nobody really cares about Banjo. But I definitely think that his gameplay really kind of changed a lot of people's perception about this character. You know, just kind of reading Twitch chat as things happen, it's kind of interesting to see what people's reactions are. And I feel like a lot of people were kind of surprised, right? Like, Banjo is usually seen as a lame character, and, you know, to an extent, he kind of is. He kind of just zones. But Toriguri was just showing off some cool stuff and some cool tech, playing aggressive, you know, playing slow when he needed to, but he kind of showed that he could do a little bit of both, and kind of just showed off what that character could do in general. I really hope moving forward that he attends more events internationally. I think that, you know, he has potential with this character like nobody else does. I don't think anybody else plays this character to that level. And I would honestly love to see this character win, like, a big international tournament. I definitely thought it was possible here. I thought he was going to beat Hurt, and, you know, after that, having to go up against Min Min, I definitely thought that that's a doable matchup. It's kind of annoying, you know, both sides, but I feel like you can kind of zone and kind of sit back a little bit. Play aggressive when you need to. You also have Wonder Wing, which is kind of nice. And then obviously after that, he would have had to go against probably Spargo, which could have gone either way, I would say. It's one of those things where it's kind of like tough to see you get eliminated by somebody that you probably play, you know, more regularly. But at the same time, like I said, half of top 8 was from Japan, so it doesn't surprise me that he had to play against somebody pretty early on. But all that being said, let me know what you guys think of this event. Well, let me know, like, what your favorite set was. I definitely think my favorite set was Toriguri versus Hurt. That was a really good set. I got to watch the whole thing. And again, I'm excited expecting a lot of great things moving forward from Banjo, and I hope that this kind of inspires some people to take a little bit of a further look into Banjo and kind of see what all this character has to offer. He's not the best character in the world, but again, if you put in the time, you can at least make him look like a mid-tier, and sometimes that's really all you can ask for with some of these characters. If you enjoyed this quick recap, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, let me know in the comments as well, and give this video a like if you can. If you can't, it's no big deal, but it just helps me out a little bit. And other than that, I've got nothing else for you guys. Hope you have a great rest of your week, because today is Monday, and yeah, I'll catch you guys later.